Era. Chauvin in Peru
and the Olmecs in Mexico.
Are developed vigorously in Central America and Northern South America.
However, in North America, hunting and gathering was still primarily practiced. Classical Era.
Maya began in 900 BCE and flourished in 400 CE.
The Toltecs existed from 900 to 1200 CE in central Mexico.
Kid dogs!
And guinea pigs.
Massive pyramid-shaped religious structures.
Teotihuacan was the first big city, and it was a center for worship and trade.
Classical Era.
Used fighting techniques to take over the Toltecs.
And Lake Texcoco.
Ritualistic polytheistic religions
With practices such as human sacrifice and warrior traditions.
Realistic view of history shown through their calendar.
Office system to increase the surplus of agriculture.
It's a tribute system by implementing taxes on the people they conquered.
Luzon was the first large urban area that turned into an empire.
Incas.
Very difficult landscape.
So they created terraces for agriculture.
It was a record-keeping system for crop surplus. Domesticated large animals like llamas and alpacas.
A large messenger road system to transfer information.
The public works labor system created infrastructure, and they didn't have any merchants.
Modern era.
Spanish, Dutch, and Portuguese came to Latin America.
Dear Allah, America!
In exchange, created a transfer of agriculture and American foods to other countries, which created a population growth. Columbian exchange also brought horses, pigs, and cattle to the Americas.
Germs carried to the Americas killed many indigenous people.
Agriculture transfer brought plantations to Americas where they produced cash crops, but coercive labor systems such as slavery began. Europeans spread religions and created syncretic belief systems.
The City of Tortoisai split South America, Portugal Eastern, and Spanish Western.
Europeans brought
The grid city system, the printing press,
Universities, and Catholicism.
1520, Cortez led the conquest of Mexico.
1533, Cusco, Peru fell to Francisco Pizarro. Indians took advantage of the abundance of silver that they found in South America.
Industrial era! Revolution triggered many other revolutions for independence, such as the Haiti Slave Rebellion and the Latin American Wars for Independence.
Brazil declared its independence but remained a monarchy.
After independence, Brazil experimented with subtypes of governments like the caudillos, which were military dictators. Brazil constructed the Panama Canal to help facilitate trade.
It said that no more European people can colonize the Americas. This era was the Mexican-American War, Louisiana Purchase, Spanish-American War, and the American Civil War, where the Emancipation Proclamation declared freedom for all of the slaves.
There was a rise of democratic suffrage in the United States.
And the U.S. gained new territories.
It declared its independence from Spain
In 1821.
Temporary era.
Mexican Revolution caused the government to be overthrown.
Alvaro Obregón became the leader of Mexico after the revolution.
He made a Mexican Constitution of 1917.
It promised land reforms
Limited foreign ownership of key resources.
and guaranteed the rights of workers.
The United States entered World War I in 1917 and joined the Triple Entente.
World War I caused the disruption of traditional markets for Latin America exports, and the elimination of European sources of goods caused a realignment of the economies in Latin America.
After the war, there was a stock market crash in 1929, which triggered the Great Depression, and it affected the entire world economically. This was an attempt to prevent future conflict, but was unsuccessful because the U.S. declined their membership.
A deal was put in place by FDR to reconstruct our economy after the Great Depression. This movement
In Mexico,
was an attempt to display the past and portray what the future could be like.
America experienced many changes politically and economically, such as
The middle class emerged.
socialist and communist parties,
Growth of corporations,
The Vargas regime,
which was when the Brazil economy collapsed in 1929 with the Great Depression, Vargas imposed new constitution based on Mussolini's Italy.
Before involvement, Jewish ships came to the U.S. with refugees, but we turned them away.
Attack on Pearl Harbor forced the U.S. to join the war. Manhattan Project, the U.S. created atomic bombs.
which were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki to end the conflict with Japan.
Marshall Plan was designed to provide loans to help Western nations to rebuild from the war's devastation in order to prevent the spread of communism.
After World War II, the U.S. and Russia emerged as superpowers.
War 1945!
War created proxy wars in Latin America.
And the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Intervened in communist movements.
In Guatemala and Cuba.
In Vietnam War, the U.S. had a containment policy to stop the spread of communism. Rights improved, there was growing employment of women being in the United States, and feminism began to take shape.
Colonization is when the United States pop culture thrived and spread to Europe.
Experienced most problems, and the U.S. used liberations to improve the living conditions of people who were poor.
Was directly involved in Cuba and Puerto Rico and used re-democratization in Central America, which wasn't always successful.
Labor policy in 1937 promised to deal more fairly with Latin America and stop intervention.